I spent the last few months focusing on making game characters. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the learning process that I go through, and maybe you can use that to apply to your character as well. So this is the character theme that I decided to go for. She's going to be very cute and pink, but generally she would be the main character for this drawing today. First thing we need to understand is this drawing right here. This is called a character sprite. And different from any other drawing, this is used to represent the player in the game. This means that it's going to be a standalone drawing so that players can move the character around, and it has to have different drawings to illustrate the different actions players can do. So like idling, running, jumping, all of those action has to be illustrated with this character sprite. So to draw a character sprite, here are some of the metrics we need to consider. Wait, don't be scared. Don't be scared. I promise it's very easy. You ready? You ready? Okay. That metric is size and proportion. Now, I've already gone a little bit more in depth into size and proportion in my previous video. So in this video, I'm just gonna keep it very nice and compact. The first thing you need to understand about size is the character standard size. Usually, these sizes are 32 by 32, 48 by 48, and 64 by 64. Obviously, it doesn't have to be exact. Like the character can be about 50 pixels instead of 48, and that's totally fine. These are basically just references, so you know how to scale your character and choose a right canvas size for you. One way I find it really helpful when checking for character size is tiles. So if you're already working on a game and you already have your tiles in, then you can base its size on the tile size. So if my tile is about 32 by 32, I would want my character to be about 32 in width, and height can be varying. So knowing all that allows me to set the canvas size. Me personally, I prefer the size 48 in height, and the width, I'll change it as I slowly concept the character. And then in my drawing program right here, which I'm using Pixsquare, you can create a new canvas, set the canvas size to 60 by 60 so you can spare some rooms, and then after that, you would want to draw the character in the middle, but only taking up about 48 pixels in height. So that's like my plan. Now let's start drawing. I tend to illustrate them with 3D shapes. So for my character here, which is 48 pixels in height, I'm going to draw a sphere for the head, which is about 19 pixels, a cube for the torso, which is about 11 pixels, a truncated pyramid for the hips, which is about 8 pixels, and 2 cylinders for the leg, which is about 13 pixels. All of this is in height, by the way. And then I would just add in 2 arms. These one doesn't have to be necessarily 3D shapes. You can just draw these lines that stick out of the torso like this. And yeah, that should do. That should do. Oh my god. Okay, so pause, because I know some of you guys are gonna ask questions over here. While I was researching on how other character artists do sketches, I found that a lot of people use a skeleton like this. Like I'm saying a lot. And yes, I do think that generally that's a good approach for a good reason. But I feel like it's more so for intermediate artists who are already used to anatomies. Because if you're not used to drawing anatomies like I was at the start of this journey, you would look at this and wonder, so how do I add the muscles onto the skeleton? Do I just connect this line from the shoulder to the arm to fill it in? Like, is that how it works? So that's why I think it's better for beginners to use 3D shapes. Because now, when I'm drawing the torso for the character, I can clearly understand that this part is the shoulder and this part is the front of the torso. Not only that, but I can also figure out where I should place the jingle bobs the jingle bobs right here in front of the torso. And yeah, that was just something that really works for me when I was just starting out. So in the other video that I make on a 32 by 32 character, I go a little bit more in depth on how I use the shapes to form the structure of the character. But if you're following along to this video and you want something similar to the size that I'm drawing right here, I also include this sample asset, so you can download that and use it as a reference to build up the shapes on your character. There's also other poses in there as well for different body types, so yeah, do check that out and see how that goes. Back to our character. So you can see that I'm arranging the shapes in a way that makes the character poses a little bit. Like the legs here kind of point outwards a bit. The body, as you can see, also leans towards the side. The character also just hunches down to the point where you can see the top part of the torso, and the hand also just raises up in a ready to fight position. And that's like one of the classic poses that people tend to go for when working on an idle animation or just a normal character sprite. For my first sprite, I tend to go for a basic pose just because it's so versatile for learning how to draw characters. After I got the pose down, I'll start working on the details, which just basically means carving out some of the pixels here and there to deliver the right shapes. For example, with the legs, I usually make it a little bit thicker around the thighs. Then as I move downwards, I'll erase a few pixels at the back of the knee, and then I'll go back out a little bit to create the illusion of cows. And that's just one of the examples of how you could turn a shape into something more details. You can do so for the arms, the torso, even the face can use a little bit of retouching like that. I recommend looking a little bit into anatomy because it basically shows you how the character should look. When I was learning how to do characters, I basically just hit up my character artist friends and asked them kindly for resources. Very kindly, very, very kindly. Please, please, I need this so bad.
Oh, okay. You can have it.
Yippee! Yeah, I would say that they were kind enough to share their resources with me. Thanks, Taco. Thank you so much. So the site is Line of Action, and so if you want to sample real-life anatomies and real-life poses as well, you can also go there and check that out. But if you want something a little bit more pixel arty, like game character coded, I also have some references which you can get below. I might even update it with animations later on. Oh, who knows? As I refine the shapes for my character, I also make sure to lock in these shapes with an outline. Here, I'm just using a black outline to go around the character. I also kept this line in the middle so that I can figure out how to align the body parts on the character. For example, this horizontal line on the face lets me know where the eyes should be, which is just right here above that line. I can also make sure that my eyes sit relatively symmetrical on both sides of this vertical line right here. So yeah, doing it like this makes sure that everything still makes sense in terms of anatomy. So next up is the hair. There's so many hairstyles you can choose for the character aside from just the basic hair at the back. Here are some hair examples I made on my Patreon, and to be honest, I think hair can just be any shape you want because the funkier the hair, the more their characteristic shines through. I really like how Skullgirls did the character's hair. Like with Cerebella, her hair was literally 2 fists, and that somehow just says a lot about her character. Like, what class does she belong in? What playstyle does she have, and how do you interact with her as a character? And so that's why I want the hair on my character to reflect something like that. Maybe not punching hair like Cerebella, but at least hair with some sort of personality. So this character here is going to be a very cute character, so that's why I'm giving her a heart-shaped ponytail at the back. You can see that this is a very genius move because it's actually not a heart, but it's a ponytail. Mine equals blown. I know that this is going to be hellish to animate, but it really makes the character stand out amongst other. I find good character design is when you can draw the character with as few lines as possible. Like this character here can just be drawn using a stick figure and a heart-shaped ponytail, and you would be like, oh, okay, that's that character that hanapix is drawing. So that's like one of the big factors that I tend to consider when I'm designing a character, whether it's just hair or character pose or even the outfits. And speaking of which, I think we should get on to outfits. So my thought process behind an outfit, it's actually pretty simple. So whatever part of the clothing that tucks around the character, I just recolor that part of the sprite. Say I want a tight fit shirt, I can just recolor the top part of this shirt. Or same with the boots. Since it's a very tight fit boot, I also just recolor parts that goes up to the thigh. For pieces of clothing that flares out a little bit like this one, I just give it a standard reshaping. This just means that I let the material flare out a little bit and then I change the bottom part to a wavy line like this, so it feels a little bit more flowy. And since I'm focusing a lot on the head, I also want to add some decorations around this area, so something like a headband, I think that would work. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Yeah, up until this point, I just give the character a standard palette, so one color for everything. But here's like my reasoning behind my choices of palette. So I always start off with a monochromatic palette, which means that I just use different shades of the same colors so I can see the different values between the colors. So what do I mean by that? If you were to put a dark pink tie onto this skirt, which is a white skirt, you can see that the pink tie really pops out. If I were to switch this dress to something like a pink that is closer to the tie, you can see that the tie and the dress just kind of blends in. I don't want that to happen. So that's kind of why I'm just using one color to mark out different areas on the character. So wherever I want to emphasize, I would try to strategically place my colors so that a simple decoration or an object on the character really stands out. Yeah, so after I approach it in with monochromatic, I also try to test out different palettes as well. This just means like switching up the hue. Instead of pink, I can test out like teal or yellow. Whatever feels like it gives you a little bit more perspective on how the character can look or feel. So yeah, I always have like a variety of color palettes like this, just so I can look at it and see which color really suits this character. And if you really want to blend in two colors from two different monochromatic palettes, you can like swap out some of the colors for the other color on that palette. So here I can swap out this color on the dress for this color. As much as I would love to go into color theory, I do think that the general artists do have to go through a lot of trial and error with colors until they get a palette that they really like. So yes, at the beginning, you shouldn't worry too much about colors. I would say try as much color as possible, and maybe then you'll build a visual library for palettes. Now, after we've done with the colors, we get something like this, which is pretty nice. Now we're gonna work on the animation. When the character moves around in the game, they're probably gonna do a few actions like idling, attacking, or jumping. Usually for each animation, you're gonna need several sprites. Each of these sprites is gonna be responsible for one frame in the animation. We usually organize all of these sprites into one sheet, and it is in fact called a sprite sheet. A sprite sheet is just basically a big sheet that has all of the animation frames of that action. So for example, if I have an idle sprite sheet, it just means that I have all of the frames associated with idling aligned sequentially on a sheet. So that's a sprite sheet. So we probably aren't going to go too deep into sprite sheets right now. I'm just teasing you the idea. But we are going to work on some animation pose, which means that we are just going to work on the first sprites that determines the look of that animation. So I'm just going to specifically tackle these actions. So we got idling, we got running, and then we got jumping. I also included the wall sliding thingy or the crouching pose just for fun. But yeah, you can just sample some of those and get like a basic animation going for the character. So in the idling pose, it's not so different from the standard pose. I mean, for me, I would just use the standard pose as the first frame for the idling pose anyway. So I guess it's just gonna be the same sprite. In the running pose, I kind of make the character crouch down a little bit. This means that the torso is gonna lay at a 45-degree angle, and the legs is also gonna be a little bit bended around the knee, and the hands, you can see there's gonna be one in front and one at the back. Also, the head is gonna turn to the side, so it's almost like a 90-degree turn to the point where you can only see half of the face. And the next pose is gonna be a jumping pose. So for this one, I choose like a jumping down kind of pose. The character is gonna have one leg pointing down and one leg pointing up. I also make the head face downwards because when the character jumps down, they're gonna look down. So that's why I make the lines on the sphere face downwards. And to also balance this, I also make the hand raise up a little bit so that the character feels like it has a little bit more balance. And the next pose is gonna be a wall sliding pose, which I just have the character turn outwards, but the bottom down is still going to face the wall, which means that one leg is going to be on the wall and the other leg is going to be facing down. And for the crouching pose, it's kind of similar to the running pose, except when the character crouches down, I make the knee at the back bend instead of the knee at the front. Here you can see that the hand also follows in the same motion as the legs. The hands at the back is a little bit curved up, and the hand at the front is pointing outwards in parallel to the leg. Something very important here when doing these kind of poses is that you need to make sure that the center of balance is still the same, which means that like generally the mass on this side of the character is the same as the mass on this side of the character. I would say the balance point is around the stomach down, so you kind of want to make sure that if you split a line from the stomach, you can feel like both sides are kind of similar. So there's like a sort of balance to the character. So yeah, that's basically how I come up with the poses for the character. At this point, you might think, oh my god, this is a lot of work to really fill in the animation. And yes, I agree, it kind of is. But after a while of drawing the same features in different poses, you kind of just get used to it. And it just gets faster and faster as you go. So I think that drawing animation poses is also like a very good practice for you to draw characters. It's kind of like a little teaser into the next step, which is animation, which is going to be harder because we're going to work with more frames. But don't worry, we can do this after you've done all of these poses. I believe. So yeah, I hope that this helps, and in the next video I am going to discuss about how we can do the animation itself. So I hope that you got all your character sprites prepared, because we are going to animate in the next video. Yay! Which I'll probably link here if this video is already out. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys in that video. Bye!